Gentleman from Iowa, Mr. Braley.
Thank you, Chairman Pallone, for holding this important hearing on the use of antibiotics in animal agriculture. And I also want to thank all the witnesses who came here today, and I hope that we can have a meaningful conversation on this issue. Most Americans, when they go into a supermarket and buy some pork or chicken or beef, have no idea where that food came from or how it wound up in the supermarket or in their kitchen. A lot of public health officials have never been to a farm and seen with their own eyes and talked to production people involved in agriculture about how that food is taken care of and how it's grown and how it's processed and how it's shipped off to the packing house where it's ultimately dealt with and sent to their tables. A lot of parents take their kids into doctor's office and demand the use of antibiotics for something that won't even respond because it's a viral infection. We are a culture that looks for simple, easy answers when oftentimes we're talking about complex trade-offs. And it's no different here, talking about the very real public health concerns about antibiotic resistance and very real production concerns about food safety and food supply. When I was a student at Iowa State University, it was a well-known, accepted fact that it was more difficult to get into the Iowa State Veterinary Medicine College than the University of Iowa College of Medicine. And yet we seem to think that public health research is somehow, in some way, more superior than animal veterinary research, even though oftentimes they come from the same raw data. So my hope for this hearing is that we can all agree on some fundamental things. A, that antibiotics are essential for fighting bacterial infections in humans, and yet there is still significant disagreement in some sectors about the specific relationship between the use of antibiotics in feed products as they relate to consumption of food and how that affects antibiotic resistance in humans. I have always been an advocate for science-based approach, and I think this is an issue that demands careful, thoughtful consideration of all scientific points of view. Rather than come to conclusions based upon ideology, I think we need to look through the entire body of research available. There are many well-intentioned people on both sides of this debate, and my hope is we can continue to have meaningful discussions around tables like this, talk about the best way to move forward to make sure we continue to have a safe, reliable food supply, and are doing everything we can to protect human health. We need to continue to assess how antibiotics are being used in animals, but also across the spectrum in ways that they're being abused and creating the type of antimicrobial resistance we are seeing today. And we also need to make sure that as we listen and learn from the witnesses who've come here today, we continue to fund the necessary research to get to the bottom of how these problems relate to one another and how we make the best informed decisions to protect the public health interest. So I want to thank you all for being here today. I look forward to your input, and I yield back.